So, good afternoon, all. Here is Mangesh Naneshwar Borkar, sir, Director, Sambodhi IAS Academy, Mumbai, Thane. And today is 17 February 2021. This is our batch of UPSC Civil Services pre-mains interview. And today on 17th February 2021, at 3 p.m., we are meeting for our first lecture on ethics. And ethics is a very important subject in the mains examination, okay, at mains level. It carries 250 marks totally. And today with us, Dr. Joseph Rodriguez, sir, who is basically a UPSC qualified candidate of 2009 batch. And he was selected as for Indian Defense Research Services. And he is associated with Sambodhi Career Academy since 2007-8. Okay, he was also a person who taught to that batch where there was Dr. Praveen Munde, there was Dr. Ramdas Bise, and now both are into Indian administration. Dr. Praveen Munde selected as a IPS officer in very first attempt from our Kalachuki branch. Okay, now which that branch is closed now. We are having our main branch at Thane, and we are conducting our online sessions for UPSC, MPSC, and rest of the bank staff selections examinations. And Dr. Ramdas Bise, he got selected afterwards in Indian Railway Traffic Services. So sir is associated with Sambodhi Career Academy since 2007. Many of the students got selected from the platform of Sambodhi Career Academy, where sir taught so many subjects, including ethics, in fact, even constitution, general science, current affairs, international relations, like, okay. So today, without wasting time, once again, I welcome sir at Sambodhi, and sir will conduct lectures on ethics from today itself. So I have already sent you a message related to the lecture schedule. So every day we are meeting from 2:50 p.m. to 5 p.m. for ethics lecture. And sir will take lectures on today itself, 17th February, then 19th February, 20th February, and then 22nd, 23rd. Okay, so the schedule already is sent. And I will send you schedule as per the, like, whatever the schedule we decide. So I will send you message. So Joseph sir, these are students, okay?
Yes, sir.
Of our UPSC batch. And now over to you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
I am not feeling well, so I will take a leave after 5-10 minutes after
Okay,
admitting all students. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So good afternoon to all of you, and I thank Mangesh Borkar, sir. It's been a long association with sir. So thank you, sir, for introducing me, and also to welcome to all of you students. So I welcome all of you on behalf of Sambodhi. Yeah, on behalf of Sambodhi Career Academy. Now, since already the syllabus has already been mentioned, and I don't want to go into much details about that. So I will just give you a brief background of what all this paper comprises. As you already know that we have the GS paper 4, that which includes ethics. So what we are going to basically do, or what are we going to study in this ethics? That is what we are going to see. And we are going to examine the main concepts connected to that, right? So first and foremost, ethics is divided into section that you can call 7 different sections are there. 7 different parts are there of the ethics paper. So the first part is what is ethics? Basically, what do you call as the assessment or the understanding ethics, what you can call as the basic foundational concepts, what we have, what is the meaning of ethics, what do you understand by ethics, how does it interact in our personal day-to-day life. So that is what is the first part, first topic, what we are going to see. The second topic includes about aptitude and attitude. So basically, what is aptitude, what is attitude, and how do we understand aptitude and attitude? So for a civil servant, for those students who are preparing for civil services, the most important thing is aptitude. That means, do we have the aptitude to be a civil servant? So that question comes. And what is the attitude expected of a civil servant? So these are connected things which are you're going to see. So on and so forth. We have different topics connected to that. Then we have emotional intelligence. We have the other things like what is emotional intelligence. Then we have applied ethics. That means ethics in practical life, what we call in private and in public sphere. So how you're going to apply ethics in private sphere, in public sphere. Since you're going to be part of the public service, civil services, so how you're going to experience or how are you going to apply that? So that's a very important thing that we are going to do. Then we are going to talk about certain Western and Indian philosophers, that is moral philosophers. So what is moral philosophers and how their thinking or the philosophers, how their thinking has molded and how does it impact us? So that's something which we are going to see. Then we are going to talk about ethical conflicts. That means what is the role of conflicts and dilemmas? That means as a civil servant in day-to-day administrative life, how you are going to face the dilemmas. So what are the queries? What are the consequences? How you're going to handle such situation? What are you going to do exactly in that situation? So that is another important aspect you're going to see. Then you're going to talk about emotional intelligence. Now, with the mounting pressure, and I was just reading yesterday, and now, okay, let me just check your general knowledge or your current affairs. Now, recently, one country has this thing with regard to Minister of Loneliness. Do you know the country, name of the country? I don't want all of you to unmute yourself. If you know, please lift up your hand.
It's Japan.
Yes, you are right. Who gave the answer? Dr. Vishwakarma?
Dr. Vishakha.
Vishaka. Okay, the name is very different here, so I can't make out. I'm sorry. Sorry for this thing. Yeah, okay, Dr. Vishaka, you are right. It is Japan. Good. So good answer. That is the correct answer. So they have appointed Minister of Loneliness. Now, what is the reason for appointing Minister of Loneliness? Is because of primarily due to the rising suicide cases. And remember, Japan is a highly industrialized country. Okay. So despite such prosperity and all these things, now with this consequential rises. So how the pandemic has created such a scare. So this is what we need to understand, how to apply the practical ethics. So emotional intelligence is of a great importance and great value. So that is what we need to know, right? So that is also we are going to study. Then we are going to study about corruption, and we're going to study about probity in governance and all these other issues which are connected to public administrative values system. Okay. And finally, we will be seeing case studies. That means now case studies, if you are a district collector or if you are a CEO of a particular block, and then certainly certain questions and certain queries which come up. So in that situation, how you are going to tackle? What are you going to do? So what is right? What is wrong? What decision are you going to take? In whose interest are you going to take? So all these moral consequences and ethical questions are what this paper is going to deal with. Basically, it is more of your inner belief system. That's what you're going to understand. Ethics is more of our belief system. So what we believe is basically what we act upon. So how we are going to mold our belief system is very, very important, because based on the belief system, our values are going to be there. Based on our values, our attitude is going to be there. Based on our attitude, our approach is going to be there. So everything that we do or we act upon has got a certain connectivity. So that is what we are going to see. So right now at the beginning, I'm going to start off with the starting this thing, that what is ethics? Basically, what do we understand? So I'm going to take you back to a judgment at Nuremberg. This is anybody knows about Nuremberg? It's a famous case history. Okay, if you are not aware, no problem. So I'm going to talk to you about the World War II, the crimes of World War II, basically the horror. So as we know of Hitler's, dictatorial policies and what all he had done. So they were called the famous trials of Nuremberg. So in this famous trials of Nuremberg, the chief judge who was appointed, Dan Haywood. Now he was faced with a strange predicament. That means with a strange situation he was faced. He had to preside over a tribunal. Now this tribunal had to pass a judgment that was going into trial over 4 judges. So there were 4 judges of Germany. Now these judges were there during the time of Hitler, and they had passed certain, they abided by what Hitler said. So the charge against these 4 was that they had used their offices. That means the judgment that they were there, the power of their office, they had used to force sterilization. So they had conducted forced sterilization and ethnic cleansing. Now, I think you understand what is the meaning of ethnic cleansing. So even in current certain countries now, there is ethnic cleansing and there is a big hue and cry about it. So now this was looming at the time of the Cold War. That means during the time of the Cold War, this judgment was going on, the trial was going on, and this judge, chief judge, that is Dan Haywood, he had to preside. So what is to be done now? The question before this judge, Dan Haywood, was that now since the Cold War is, the Cold War was beginning, and the people also were tired of all the things in Germany, and they wanted, a fast judgment. So basically, one side of the thing was that these judges should be exonerated, or rather they should be let go of because of the current situation in the country. On the other hand, there was a situation that if we let them go off, I mean, thinking that what they had done, it would be on the basis that they would give an excuse saying that it was our duty. That means we were bound by whatever was told to us by Hitler. So whether it was right or wrong was a big question mark. But thankfully enough to the judge, Dan Haywood, he did not get influenced by political pressure and public pressure, and he passed the judgment. So that means he conducted the trial in a fair. So now in such situations, what are we to do? This is what ethics is about. Basically, what are we to do when situations arise that due to certain things, even the best, that means when they are forced, like now a person like Hitler, a dictatorial person, and who completely turned everything upside down. So is it justified that what those judges did? So such type of situations are what ethics is going to answer. So what is right, what is wrong, whether is it good or bad? These are the questions that we are going to face with. So in situation of crisis, what are we going to do? Now, similar situation arises in Afghanistan. So you will come across such situations in newspapers and you will be reading across such things. So in such situation, what is the decision? That means what decision are we to make? What is the judgment that we are supposed to give? So what are our moral values? So based on the society, based on the culture, based on the belief, based on the attitude, based on the popular understanding of the people, the judgments are passed, or we make ethical judgments. Okay. So that is what we are going to see, that how do we come to an ethical judgment? What is the thing that we are going to make a judgment based on? So in 2005 in the Afghanistan, I mean, during the time of when the US had raided due to the Taliban thing, US had raided Afghanistan. So that point of time, another predicament or a situation had arisen before US Navy officer, Marcus Luttrell. Now, he was faced with a dilemma. And the dilemma was this, whether to kill innocent civilians, because where they were located, the civilians had come to know. So whether to kill them or let them go. Now his fellow colleagues had said that he should kill them because they had come to know the base of the US. I mean, where these Navy along with all his cadets were located, and they said he should kill. But he prevailed with his more, humane judgment, and he decided against that, and he let them go off. But that decision of his proved very, very disastrous, because immediately later on, after a few hours, the Taliban came there and they wiped out practically everybody. So the entire US Navy, I mean, those officers who were present there, with the exception of few of them who escaped. So this Navy SEAL officer escaped, and then he thought, but now his judgment was based on his Christian value system. That means his faith and belief in God and his love. So that is the reason he did not want to kill the innocent civilians. But that proved counter effect. And then he said in the interview that it would have been better if he had listened to the other colleagues of his. I mean, it wouldn't have caused such a great death. So my dear friends, now these are certain decisions which come up to, what ethics is exactly, how you're going to tackle this situation. So these are the situations and decisions which you are going to face as an officer. So what are the steps you're going to take and how you're going to base? Another decision from India, ethical, this thing you can talk about is with regard to the army officer, Major Gogoi. Now in 2016, Major Gogoi was accused of serious human rights violation. There was a big hue and cry in Jammu and Kashmir with his teammates, along his teammates. So they had taken one of the, because there was stone pelting going on. And during that stone pelting, what did they do to secure themselves to go out from that place? Because the people there had begun to attack them. So they had tied another local man to the jeep. and and they had taken him along so that they could not attack. So now he was presented before the army court, and the army court did not prosecute him, because in the judgment of the army court, what he had done was the right decision. So you can see what is the right decision in which situation can prove counterproductive. Exactly opposite to what the officer Literal had performed, Marcos Literal had done in Afghanistan. Gogoi had done a totally opposite thing. So we see different situations, different decisions. So now, how are we going to base? So what was there? Is there a perfect answer? Do we have a perfect answer? So that is the question that we need to answer. Or do we have a perfect answer to every situation that comes? So we have to judge the situation by merit. We have to decide based on merit that what situation requires our attention and how do we tackle the ethical problem. So that is what ethics is going to answer. So we have various opinions. Basically, all of us have different opinions on various subjects. There are a variety of subjects, and we might have our own opinions. Now, whether they are reasonable, unreasonable, that's another question. So we have to judge our opinion, whether they are reasonable. So how is that opinion shaped? So what is that basis of that opinion? Is your opinion well informed, or is your opinion based on a bias? Is your opinion based by something that you have read, which may have misled you? So this is very important to understand. So if we don't understand that factor, then that can prove another counterproduct. So all these things shape and decide. So is it good or bad? Is it right or wrong? Your opinion on your decision. So many people may not be concerned about money. How much money do the cricketers earn in India? But the problem is that when they correlate their earnings with others equally demanding, not as the glamorous as sport, like a hardworking traffic policeman, or another person working in a corporate worker working in the air condition employee, so air condition. So what is the differences? I mean, so how do we balance all these things? So these are the situations. So what argument can we give? What is the moral argument that can we give against such discrepancies, where we can see the pay, the scale, the equal pay for equal, work? So this is what the cry is, and this is what the Constitution states about. I mean, this is a socialistic value, but is it possible? Equal pay for equal work, is it possible? So now that is the question mark. So these and many other queries and questions is what ethics tends to answer. So further, as a civil servant, you are going to be taking decisions which are going to impact the lives of others. It's not just you who are just going to be at the helm of affairs. It's not that you are going to be some authoritarian person. No. So your decision is going to impact the lives of so many people. So how do you make the choices for yourself as well as for others? For example, when you are accepting tenders, so does accepting tenders from a firm run by any of your relative amount to conflict of interest? So supposing if you know that the tender party is run by one of your family member, or it's in a family business, so are you going to be at the helm of affairs making decisions? That is a question you're going to ask. So is it right or wrong? Because it will indicate conflict of interest between the two parties. So how do we make this decision? How do you approach such situation? So we are going to draw this basic framework in the reasoning that can be helpful for us to resolve such moral dilemmas, right? That is what we are going to understand. Is it clear, I think, to all of you, what we are going to talk about? I think why these examples that I have given you, you might have a basic understanding of what I'm talking. Does anyone have a doubt till now? Anyone would like to ask me any query, any question? Okay. Moving forward now, we are going to talk about, we are going to come to the conceptual aspect. Basically, what is ethics? So simplest answer, I would like to ask any of you, anybody who would like to take this chance and opportunity to give me an answer, you can tell me, what is ethics? Yeah, what is ethics? Anybody who would like to take the opportunity? Nobody knows? Implementation of our moral values. Okay, Jairaj said of our moral values. Okay, that's fair enough. That's a good answer. Fair enough.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Prajwal.
Doing a work in a disciplined way, or following all while following all the moral values.
Yes, that's also a correct answer.
And also using the constitutional bodies, means
Okay.
कायदे के दायरे में रह के.
Fine, fine, fine. Thank you. Anybody else? So basically, ethics is nothing but a system of moral principles. It's the most simplest definition. What I would like to tell you, it is nothing but a system of moral principles. It is the study of what is the right thing to do. Basically, the question that we're going to ask in such and such a situation, what am I going to do? What is the right decision that I have to make? So because the decision is going to affect people, make decisions and going to lead their lives. So the term ethics is derived from the Greek word, as we know, ethos. The term ethics is derived from the Greek word known as ethos. Now, what does ethos mean? It can mean a custom, it can mean a habit, a character, or a disposition, right? Now, there is a lot of confusion. What is the confusion about? The confusion is about beliefs, values, ethics, moral. So are these same words? No, they are not same words. Though sometimes more or less they are occasionally used as interchangeable term, but each of them has a specific meaning to a particular context. So they are contextual. So they have a specific meaning. So we have to see that in line with ethics, what is the meaning of values? What is the meaning of beliefs? What is the meaning of morals? So that's what we have to understand. So as I said, ethics is derived from the Greek word ethos, which means custom or habit or character or disposition. So it is nothing but a system of moral principles which helps to differentiate between right or wrong. Ethics helps us to differentiate between right or wrong, between good and bad, fair and unfair. So this can be a guiding light for our human conduct, our behavior. Okay. So the change in human behavior and action due to this application of the ethical principle helps us to build a humane society. Because of this, we are able to, our society is able to function in a peaceful and a harmonious way. If these ethical principles are not there, definitely we are going to have chaos. We're going to have confusion. We are going to have a lot of there's going to be a great lot of problems in the society. So this ethics basically harmonizes the society and maintains the balance. That is what the ethics will do. So whether or not there are universal moral principles that can be applied irrespective of person or circumstance is a debate which has been raging among philosophers. So philosophers have continued to debate about it. Is there a genuine, principle or no? Is there something bad, acceptable conduct? So when there is a good conduct, it is rewarded. When there is a bad conduct, it is punished, right? So we are going to see now. So I hope everyone has got the idea of what ethics are. Now you can call ethics as values, but all values are not ethics. So ethics are basically values as well as moral systems, but not all values are ethics. So that is how we understand the thing and we begin to clarify. Now I want to understand about, we go into human behavior. Now, how do we understand human behavior? How do we define human behavior? Anybody? Is it clear to hear, all of you? Tushar, do you want to say something? Okay. Anybody who would like to say something? What is behavior? Just a minute. Hello. Yeah. So what is human behavior? How can you define behavior? Psychological study. Okay. I would not exactly. Yeah, it's a part of psychology, but I want a more genuine definition. Manner of behaving. Okay. Anybody else? So basically, every human being how do you define yourself now? Supposing if I'm asking now, Aniket, how will you define yourself? See, I would like you all to give me coordinated responses. Okay. I would like it to be interactive, though I know it's an online mode and medium. Dr. Vishaka? How would you define yourself? I cannot hear your voice.
Don't know, sir.
Sorry?
Don't know, sir.
Okay, okay, thank you. Anybody else who would like to try? Okay. Now, as we know, every person is defined by certain characteristics like appearance, his education, and most importantly, his behavior. So it refers to a range, a response to stimuli. So when we stimulate, I mean, by an external stimulus, then the person which is influenced, he may have is influenced by culture, by attitude, emotions, values. So all those things are part of the behavior. So beliefs and values are considered to be the building blocks of behavior. So what is the building block of a behavior? So it is our beliefs and our values. So whatever is your belief is going to make influence your behavior. Whatever is your value is going to influence your behavior. So that is what we understand, right? So beliefs and values are supposed to be the core blocks or building blocks of human behavior. So entire lifetime we experience our behavior. So it includes the way of different factors that are faith. So certain traits which are influenced on us, right? So now we are going to see a little bit more detail into each of the concepts. Now there is a very important part which we need to understand, what is called essence of ethics. Okay, so I'm going to come to that point, essence of ethics, essence. Okay, now what do you mean by essence? Now essence basically means the intrinsic nature, that means the nature or quality of something which determines its character. So essence of ethics is the nature which determines its character. So that means it is the core thing of that ethics, of that path. So when we talk about essence of ethics, that means the core thing about ethics. So that is what we are going to talk about. So essence of ethics in the requirement of a common ethical principle, that is to ensure peace, to ensure harmony, stability in society, can be best reflected how? Through the values. Values of what? Accountability, empathy, honesty, integrity, probity, compassion. So the most basic need for ethics in the fact that we do not automatically know what will benefit our lives. So none of us know basically what is going to benefit our life or what can be harmful to our life. So we certainly face choices. So these choices are going to affect the quality and quality of our life and the length of our life. So we must choose our values, where to live, how to spend our time, whom to associate with whom to believe. We must choose what to think about, how to think, how to go about achieving our goals, which character traits to acquire, what to eliminate. Okay. So now what do you think are going to be the character traits that you require to be a civil servant?
Responsible.
Okay. Responsible. Now see, 1 minute. Before somebody else can answer, Dr. Vishaka. Now a parent, is it responsible for the child?
So I
Hello.
didn't get your question.
You said responsible, right?
Yeah.
So my question is a parent responsible for the child? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. So is a parent a civil servant?
No.
No. So your answer does not stand.
Confidence.
You understood what I said?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So see, one very important thing, just before somebody else can answer, just wait, let me just complete my point. I'm going to clarify your doubt. This is how when you interact, you will know whether you are right or wrong. So there is no problem if you give a wrong answer. Unless you attempt to give an answer, you will not know whether you are right or wrong. Okay. Important point is now, as Dr. Vishakha pointed out and said to us, that about responsible. Yes, the civil servant needs to be responsible, but responsible to whom? Okay, so when we say such words, we have to be able to give us the UPSC is all about precision. Let me tell you. So you have to be precise to the point to what you are speaking, because a parent is responsible for the child, teachers are responsible for the student. So everybody has a responsibility. So we can't say only civil servant. I mean, if you are responsible, you can be a civil servant. That is not at all the understanding, right? Okay, so we have to give a more precise answer. Yes, Roshan. Okay, from Nahida. Okay, Raj, Roshan said confidence. Okay, to be a civil servant, you need to be confident. Okay, fine enough. But that is not required only for civil service. Confidence is required for everything, right? Yes, so Jairaj Shelke, honesty, integrity, patience. Yes, you're correct. Those are certain values which are required. Then, yes, commitment to work, right? Accountability, Nahida, transparency, perseverance. Okay. So these are right things which you have mentioned. Okay. So these are the certain things which are required. Okay. Now, so basically, I think what we are trying to see is that uh, ethics is about the choice we make or fail to make. We are aware of our conscious thoughts and our ability to make informed, intelligent choices. That is what we call free will. So we are aware that the choice that we will make. So every choice that you make is going to have a consequence. Okay. Now the choice to sit here and listen to the lecture is going to have a consequence. The consequence will be you will be more enlightened, or you may not be enlightened. So it can be a choice consequence. That's what the consequence is going to be. So both for ourselves and for others. So you can be an active participant in this discussion and in this lecture, or you can be a passive participant. Again, it depends on you, the choice that you make. So that choice that you make is going to bear the consequence. I mean, the consequence is going to be on you, right? So whatever choice you're going to make is going to be, you're going to see the consequences. Okay. So the choices which individual make may tend to become fossilized or crystallize over a period of time, which may turn into beliefs and value system of a society. So the legal system, so the belief and value system will influence the legal system. So now, basically, how do we understand all these things? We understand this thing through ethics or moral philosophy, as we can call it. So it contemplates or it discerns what is right, what is wrong. So as a discipline, ethics has three branches, mainly meta ethics, normative ethics, and applied. So now what do I mean by normative ethics? When I talk about normative ethics, I'm talking something about, meta ethics, meta ethics. It investigates, what does it investigate? The broader question that how it is basically beyond ethics. That means philosophical questions. Okay. So how can morality be defined? That is what meta ethics is going to answer. So all those questions are going to come under meta ethics. Okay. How can morality be defined? What is justice? Okay. Now, etc. So all this comes under meta ethics. Now, normative ethics. Normative ethics is concerned with what are the norms or what we ought to do. What we ought to do. Not what is already there. So that is a practical aspect. But what am I supposed to do? That is called as normative ethics. And finally, they provide the framework for deciding what is right or wrong. So various philosophers are given different frameworks through reasoning for what we call, like we are going to study about deontological ethics or utilitarian. That means what principle can be applied in different situations. That is what normative ethics is going to deal with. And applied ethics is going to deal with the practical issues of moral importance. Like we are going to talk about capital punishment, surrogacy, and all these dilemmas in our day-to-day life, we are going to talk about in applied ethics. So that is going to come under the field of applied ethics. So I hope it is clear till here. Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay, good. Now, moving further, since you have understood what is ethics and what are this thing, now what I would like you all to do, I'm going to give you all key terms and I'm going to describe these key terms and the concepts. And I'm going to ask you to please pay attention to these terms, because I'm going to ask you to write a small brief answer. Answer means right now itself after I finish the key terms, and then you're going to tell me. So I'm going to put a question before you. You will write an answer in 100 words or whatever the amount I will describe to you and tell you. And then you're going to read out your answer to me. Is it followed by everybody what I said? I hope it's clear to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Now, coming to the first key term. So as I told you, the term belief, the term norms, the term value, the term morality, ethics, and principles, they are being used interchangeably. But as we know, there are subtle or minor differences. So you have to think of these terms in terms of an evolutionary framework as they appreciate the differences. So an individual's belief to a social norm, to a country's law. So a human being, how does he survive? Through his own beliefs. So what he or she believes in. A community goes by what they think is acceptable. That is what we call as the norm, right? And finally, a society acts based on the way they are expected to act. So that is called a value, values of the society. So first one you can call as a belief. In very simple words, I'm explaining. So belief is first thing that what an individual believes or what is being things on. Community goes by what they think is acceptable to the community. That is more of a norm. And a value system is where a society acts according to what they are expected to act. So now, what are the beliefs? Like a coffee mug lies on my table. I believe that a coffee mug lies on my table. So I believe. So there is a coffee mug there on a table and I believe about it. Then Ram killed Ravan according to Ramayana. These are very simple beliefs. Someone might believe that Ram did in fact kill Ravan. So according though, now we can talk about the Ramayana to be a mythological this thing. But so there again, there can be a query about it. So whether some people may believe it's a mythology, some people may believe it to be a true thing. So now this is a question. That is what we are talking about, beliefs. Okay. So beliefs are ideas, viewpoints, and attitudes of a particular group of society. They can consist of fables, they can consist of myths, folklore, tradition, and superstition. They can also be true and verifiable. So sometimes these beliefs may be true or they can be totally irrational and unverifiable. So history or so beliefs lay the foundation of a group. So any group which can be formed, the basic thing of that group is the belief. So what is the belief behind that group? So when that belief system is strong, then the group begins to strive and it begins to achieve whatever it has set for itself in its goal. So they are often invisible to the group, this thing. So now, because these beliefs gives us hope, and a human being thrives on what he or she believes in. However, beliefs can be challenged. They can be questioned. Okay. Now, there are also something called as core beliefs. Certain beliefs are there which are believed over the time and they do not change. That is called core belief. Then there are certain beliefs which are called dispositional beliefs. That means certain things which can be there true for now and then I might dispose of them later on. Okay. So that is called dispositional belief. Now, if you come to values, what do you mean by values? So values are nothing but they denote preference for good or bad. That something is valued or valued by someone. Now that someone can be an individual, it can be an organization, it can be a place, a thing. So values describe what is important in a person's life. So every person's value may be different based on what he gives importance to. So what is the most important priority to that will determine his value system. Okay. So they are a form of collective expectation. One can come to value beliefs such as respect to elders, honesty, integrity, One can assign negative values to acts such as kidnapping and insulting. So we can make judgment on all these things. So these are called values. Then we have what is called as relation between. So we're going to see later the relations, interrelations, and the dynamics between these value systems, right? Then we are going to talk about norms. Now, what are norms? So they are social expectations. What society demands from you. That means what is the society's expectation from you that will guide the ethical behavior. So socially acceptable ways of behavior are called norms. So they are generally informal. They're not formal guidelines. Informal guidelines of a particular group or community about right or wrong social behavior. So they are the form of like collective expectations of a community's member from each other. So they basically perform the role of social control or social pressure. They exert a pressure on an individual to behave in a particular manner, to act in a particular way. So that is what according to the, so non-conforming to norm attracts punishment. So punishment can be in form of being locked down up, or he can be imprisoned or boycotted, or some sort of other punishment can be imposed upon the through this norm. Okay, so laws are at a later stage, nothing but the evolution of norms. So those who are deviant are tried, those who accept the law are accepted, those who are deviant from the law, they are punished or they are tried, right? Now, we have something called as principles. So value, beliefs, and morality vary from individual to elite. Ethics also different in different communities and culture. However, principles are rules or values which are universal in nature. They're basically universal. So principles are about universal truths and standards such as fairness, truthfulness, equality, and justice. All these things come under principles. Then we have what is called morals. So now what are morals? Morals are basically beliefs of an individual or a group as to what is right or wrong, acceptable or unacceptable. While they do prescribe what the right conduct is, morality is a personal compass or a choice. Now, supposing a religion like Jainism, which says that 5 principles, truth, satya, then non-violence, ahimsa, non-stealing, asteya, celibacy, brahmacharya, and non-attachment, aparigraha. So they act as moral guide for people following Jainism. However, ultimately, it depends on the person's choice, each individual's choice, whether to follow whatever is given by the religion text or by the guideline, right? So that is how it depends on individual to individuals. So basically, morals, so ultimately it is the individual choice of which morals do they actually follow or use to judge the rightness or wrongness of action. Hence, we can say that morals are principles of right behavior which we use to judge the goodness or badness of human character. So morals can change over the period of time. Historically, religion has been a most important source of morals. With new knowledge, a person's moral may change. Now, ethics. Coming to ethics, it defines inquiry, investigation, analysis, and application. So inquiry, investigation, analysis, and application of moral principles and dilemma. So ethics can refer to a personal belief system, same as morals, or rules of conduct or study of the moral philosophy. So basically, it tries to understand, it is a branch of moral philosophy with questions of how people ought to act and the search of a definition of a right conduct and a good life. That is what we talk about, ethics talks about. Like now, there are different morals for different professions. So many organizations have rules concerning the standard of behavior expected by the employees. Example, hospital may require that doctors prescribe the treatment with balance the requirement of the requirement, effectiveness, and cost to the patient. So there is no legal requirement, but it ought to be in which, I mean, there's no legal requirement for the doctor to do that, but it is a part of the medical ethics. So this is how we understand. Any doubt? Anybody who has any doubt? Okay, now coming to the question, what is ethics and how give examples of ethics. I hope you all have got the question. All of you, did you get the question?
Yes.
Hello. Now you are going to try to attempt to write, give examples of beliefs, of values, of morals and ethics. Give me case studies. Are you all going to do that? Hello. Dr. Vishaka.
Yes, sir.
Repeat the
Yeah.
question, please.
I said, what is ethics and what are the examples? Then can you tell me examples of values, beliefs, and morals? Did all of you get the question? It's highly inappropriate that none of you are answering. Okay. So please begin writing. In 5 minutes, I'm going to ask all of you.
Joseph sir. Yes, Joseph sir.
Yes, sir.
I hope की सगळ्यांनी interaction करा. Whatever sir is asking, so you need to be interactive because ethics is such a subject where it is related to all our understanding right from the childhood, schools, society. Okay, so ethics is not a theoretical subject; it is more or practical subject. So I hope everybody should interact with Joseph sir. बरोबर जोसेफ सर?
येस सर, येस सर. तेच मी म्हणताना सांगितलं उत्तर द्यायला, तर ते उत्तर देतच नाही.
आज मला वाटते मुलं थंडावलेत. पहिलं लेक्चर आहे एकतर आणि इकडे थंडी वाढलेली आहे त्याच्यामुळे. ओके, सो सगळ्यांनी इंटरॅक्ट करा. ओके, जोसेफ सरांसोबत सगळ्यांनी इंटरॅक्ट करा. व्हॉट एव्हर यू आर नोईंग अबाउट व्हॉट सर इज आस्किंग. ओके, सो प्लीज डू इंटरॅक्ट.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Yes. So I hope I have given all of you this thing. If you have completed. Anyone who has completed can begin. Aniket? Maitre? Okay, not complete. Okay, I'm giving you another 5 minutes. Okay. Anybody who has completed? See, unless I know you have understood or not understood, then it will be, if I understand that you have understood what I have taught, that makes sense. Somebody's microphone is on. Yes. So anybody who is ready? Namrata?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, start.
Ethics is the system of moral principles, and I wrote that you have mentioned. Ethics is derived from Greek word ethos, means way of living. It is concerned with human conduct or good behavior in the society. There are three dimensions of ethics, that is belief, values, and morals, and it goes hand by hand, and there uh, it is equally collected with each other, where belief is something that we believe. It may be someone's religious beliefs, or maybe social belief, or maybe social perspectives. And values may define as discipline or way of doing any activity in a disciplined manner, values that we follow and keep with doing every activity. And moral is including all right conduct without harming anyone, like for example, no corruption by officer can be act of morality. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Namrata. That was a fair enough answer. Ratnakesh? Sanchi? Sanjana? Aniket? Aniket? Dr. Varsha? Dr. Vishaka? Jairaj?
Yes, sir. I have written few lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ethics is derived from a Greek word ethos, which means morals, principles, and customs. So, on a broader aspect, ethics can be divided into three parts, such as methoethics, normative ethics, and applied norms and applied ethics. Metaethics is nothing but the philosophical thoughts which we are being taught. Normative are the norms which one has to follow while doing certain job. And the applied norms are the applied ethics which we tend to do while doing certain stuff. But on the whole, we can say ethics is nothing but a belief and values, a, a good little combination of beliefs and values which we need to inculcate inside us to be a good bureaucrat. That's all. Hello.
Yes, thank you, Jairaj. Good. Good enough answer. Nahida?
Yes, sir. So I have written a very short. Ethics means character, habit, or way of behavior. Ethics can be, let's say, environmental ethics, the issue of pollution and all. Bioethics, the issue of stem cells research and euthanasia, that is mercy killing. In which way that we can apply ethics in these areas. And values are the ideas that we believe, that we value. For example, honesty, equality, social justice. And norms can vary according to various communities. For example, religious communities will have their own norms according to the religion. And moral is related to issues of right or wrong and how that individual should behave. Morals, example of morals can be courage, honesty, loyalty. That's it, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Nahida. Good, very good. But you have gone a step further to describe about applied ethics. Good. Rita? Sanket? Pooja? Okay, no problem, Sanket. Pooja?
हाँ sir.
Yes.
Sir, I've written that ethics are the moral principles, the inquiry between right or wrong, and a person's behavior towards the community. And it is divided into meta ethics, normative ethics, and applied ethics. Um, and various other terms we can use in that. It is beliefs, values, norms, etc.
Fine. Anything else, Pooja?
No, sir. That's
Okay.
it.
Yeah, okay, good attempt. Thank you. Prajwal?
Yes, sir. Ethics is a branch of moral principle that governs the behavior of individual and their activity. The principle may influence the decision of people and make the people do the things. The manner in which they live is the manner in which they live should be ethical. For example, respect elders. That's it, sir.
Okay. Roshan?
Yes, sir. Sir, ethics are principles that guide us to make a positive impact through our decisions and actions. Ethics play an important role not only in our personal life but also in business. And we are also encouraged to make ethic choice and apply ethics in all areas of our life. And for example, like integrity, encourage, and honesty, loyalty, and beliefs. We have a faith, confidence in a worth. Like we don't believe a ghost, like accept the truth, and we don't like believe the everything's read right. Like everything is a we read is a right novels, so everything is not right. So we don't believe like that, and accept is a true truth. That's it, sir.
Okay, thank you. Tejal? Tushar? Okay, so coming back to where we left now we're going to look into ethics and morality. So how is the impact of ethics and morality? So basically they seem to carry the same meaning and yet they are generally used interchangeably. But then too, the philosophers make a distinction between the two. Now, what I would like to say that, see, many of you are not answering, and that is not a really good sign, especially when you are preparing for such an exam, competitive exam like this. So it's a highly, it doesn't give a good this thing. So when you are preparing for an exam like this, you need to be proactive, and you need to have, the concerns and answer to be able to answer. If you're not able to do that, then maybe you need to have an evaluation of what you are doing exactly. So I would urge all of you to be actively participant and involved in the discussion that we are having. Right. Okay. Now coming to the point of morals and ethics. So as I said, though the terms are used interchangeably, but yet there is a difference. Ethics differs from morals and morality in that ethics denote the theory of right action and the greater good, while morals indicate the practice. So that practice of that at the individual level. Ethics will denote the theory of right action and greater good. Moral will indicate it in the practice. So ethics is the scene of morals, and morals is nothing but the practice of ethics. Now, supposing we talk about science. So science is not there in nature in a systematic form. It has to be derived based on observations and practice. Once scientific study has been done, results are arrived, then they are subjected to tests in the real world. Once it gets established, it is prescribed as the correct way to go about doing things. Then such like a construction of a multi-story building based on the principle of physics. So ethics is where one studies about moral principles, and morals are nothing but the practice of that knowledge. So ethics studies about moral principles, and morals is nothing but the practice of the ethics. I hope this is clear. So ethics are basically the rules which govern the conduct of all the members of the group, such as doctors, lawyers, policemen, cultural group, society. And morals are those standards which the individual sets up for himself or herself. So both morals and ethics are embodied in conduct, which may have the force of law. Otherwise, morality means individual propositions and is subjective. So morals are basically more or less subjective. As I think Nahida rightly explained and spoke about religious beliefs. So morals. So morals are basically subjective, right? So it varies from person to person, while ethics are collective propositions. They are more society based, okay, and objective. So morals are subjective, whereas ethics are objective, society based. This is more individualistic based.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay.
Your voice is not coming.
The others, all of you, can you hear my voice?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Okay. So ethics for individuals, it's moral. Ethics is more society based and it is objective based. Okay. This is the very, very important point that we need to know. So basically now it can come out, ethics are principles of right conduct. What should be the right way in which a person should act in a situation. Now this difference can come out clearly in the case of a defense lawyer. A lawyer may consider murder to be a very heinous act or a very bad act, deserving severe punishment. But a defense attorney has to be unbiased and, according to the professional ethics, required to defend the client to be to the best of his ability, even if he knows that the client is guilty. So everyone, even a terrorist, deserves a fair trial in a court, not in a mob justice or a kangaroo court. So an individual's morals can be informed by broader rules of ethics. So every individual, his rules are, he's influenced by a broader rule. Believing that theft is wrong may stem from ethical principle of respect for private property. Take example of a civil servant involved in two different illegal acts. Taking bribe for doing his duty is a crime under Prevention of Corruption Act. It is also a violation of the civil service ethics. On the other hand, if he is involved in some relationship outside his marriage, it is punishable under adultery law. So that is a moral law. That is a moral lapse on his part. Whereas the first one is an ethical lapse. Okay. Similarly, a police officer who indulges in consumption of drugs. So society considers such a person to be of weak morals. Further, it is unethical to be inebriated or in a alcoholic stage if one is responsible for maintaining law and order. So moreover, suppressing information from department about his involvement in such activity also be a breach of departmental ethics. So finally, it is also illegal to consume banned substances under the law. So we can see that ethics and morals, there is a constant friction, constant friction. So morals is more of individual base and ethics is more of a society base. So society may believe, for example, in certain code of conduct, ethics for its members. One individual may agree or disagree with those code. For example, one might personally believe in absolute unhindered free speech. So supposing if I am there, we are all part of the society, and I believe now the society believes that everybody should not have free speech. There should be freedom to speech, but not unhindered free speech. But I might believe that there should be unhindered free speech. So I am acting exactly opposite to the society, okay, to the ethics, societal norms. So on the other hand, society might believe that defaming religious or national icons is wrong. An individual who defames religious icons may act morally according to himself, but is acting unethically according to the society. So according to himself, he may be morally correct based on his judgment, but he may be acting unethically in norms of society. So during medieval time, there was none, like now, for example, take in the medieval times, there was nothing unethical about slavery. In fact, it was considered a matter of prestige to have slaves. But today we know it is abolished and is considered abhorrent. But back then it was an accepted practice or a way of life. But an individual's morals may have led him to treat his slaves in a humane manner. So an individual's own morals can make the slaves that he owns to treat him in a more good manner. So all this can come personally considered slavery as wrong, but his thoughts would probably draw the ire of society. So though personally he might think slavery is wrong, but he knows that if he goes against society, he can be cast out. He can be a outcast of the society. So that is the reason, abiding by the norms of society, he is practicing that. So I hope you all have understood this very fine line of distinction between ethics and morals. Is there any doubt? Okay, good. So since you all have understood, I'll move forward. Now, similarly, we are going to see the difference between ethics and laws. Now, what is the difference between ethics and laws? So ethics is nothing but a reason framework in society. What is the right thing to do for the society? Members and groups in a society have different ways to answer the question. However, there has to be, so every member will say differently, but there has to be a common minimum ground or an enforceable standard of behavior. Otherwise, everyone will become the law. Rex lex, that everyone will become the law by themselves. So that cannot be allowed, right? So minimum standard is the law. So law is necessary so that the community can be stable and it can progress in a harmonious way. So law is universally accepted, recognized, embraced, okay, and enforced. It is created with the purpose of maintaining social order, peace, and justice in the society, and to provide protection to the general public and safeguard the interests. So it is made after considering ethical principles and moral values. So laws, rules, and regulations enacted by appropriate authority, which has the mechanism to enforce them and punish those who contravene the law. So law is basically nothing but institutionalized rule established by the government. So ethics are only set guidelines which one should follow. When certain ethical principles become acceptable, legally acceptable, then they become, or widely acceptable, then they can be codified into laws. So I hope you all understood difference between law and ethics. Law is generally much more narrower compared to ethics. There may be many areas where law does not exist, or it is silent, or absent, or agnostic. But ethics and morals have a wide, they are much of a broader scope compared to the law. So where the law may be silent, ethics will not be silent. Okay. So they guide the action in almost all kind of instances. So what is the relation between law and ethics? Does the law determine ethics or vice versa? So is it that law will determine ethics, or is it opposite way, ethics determine law? Most of the cases in the evolutionary form of a democratic form of governance, it is the ethical standards that give rise to the laws in the society. So it is not always the case. For example, now we can see example of sati. Now this is not always the case, as I said. So normally ethics has to direct law, but sometimes it can go the other way around. Okay, it was widely believed to be the right way in which a woman should act. However, with the help of reforms, the law was passed so that to outlaw the practice. So law at that time was in conflict with the ethics. So they were opposite to each other. So this is an example where morals of a few guided the law, which had subsequently shaped the society, ethics of the society. Now it is no longer considered normal for a woman to burn herself on the funeral pyre of her husband. So now law regarding surrogacy. Now law regarding surrogacy is also highly influenced by the ethics of the society. Our society considers motherhood to be sacred or sacrosanct, therefore does not put a monetary value on it. It is ethical principle that has guided the law which regulates surrogacy, even in most of the Western countries. Maybe in future, when we start valuing motherhood less than the individual's right to bear a biological child, we may provide relaxation. So that's how the arguments are there. So this is how we understand the relation between ethics and law. Is it clear till here now? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Vishaka. Law may have a narrow base means because law is based on ethics. So law has much of a where the law may not be there on certain aspects. There may be no law, but the ethics will direct. Ethics will direct. That is the meaning of law has a narrow base. I hope it is clear to you, Nahida. Okay. Now, coming to the next point, what are the determinants of ethics? What determines ethics? So we have seen essence of ethics, and we have seen the different key terms which are associated with ethics. Now we are going to go to determinants of ethics. So what are the determinants of ethics? So when we talk about the factors which one constitutes or considers in that reason framework. The factors that inform the way it will inform any person about the way he should act or take decisions. So these factors inform the ways in which society expects its members to behave. These ethical principles may be determined by a number of factors. First is God and religion. So many of our ethical principles are based on religion. It advocates universal ideal ethical standard. So religious textbooks deal with questions of how an individual should behave, how the society should be, ideal society should be. Conceptions or example conception of Ram Rajya in India is more of a ethical society, right? Rather than a governance model. Religion-based ethics trace the source to God. That means something is good because God says it is. So the way to live a good life is to do what God wants us to do. However, one should not identify ethics with religion because the two are different. Because then ethics would apply only to religious people. But ethics applies to the behavior even of an atheist, a person who does not believe in religion. So also the source of religion can scientifically be only traced back to humans. Then human conscience. Second point is our conscience also determines ethics and intuition. Now, this school believes that what is good because it is good. So goodness and badness does not need any justification. What is good because it is good. What is bad because it is bad. So there does not require any justification. So what is good or not can be detected by intuition, by intuitive moral sense. Basic moral truths are self-evident to a person. So these are self-evident to any person who directs his mind towards moral issue. So moral truths, according to an intuitionist, are not derived from, so they are not based on any reasoning, but they are having a feeling. That means intuition is more of feeling. I feel it is good, so it is good. So I don't want to reason about it. This is my decision. I just believe it. So I believe it is good. So that is intuition. So that is totally different from a conscience. So they are simply realized by pondering over moral issues. It is like, okay, I have understood. Now this is what I believe, and there's nobody who's going to change it. So there is a difference between conscience and intuition. Human beings behave according to knowledge they have and experiences they go through. So our conscious mind, what does it do? It actively evaluates the situation and then it takes decision. However, our subconscious mind is a repository. It is a repository of all our past experience or decisions. And though we do not actively summon, now you are actively listening to me, but you maybe in the past, some person may have spoken to you and told you in such a way, so it may bring back to you the memories. So that is coming from your subconscious mind, which is bringing it back and activating all those things. So they are metaphorically lightning fast conductors or calculations that tell us what to do and what not to do. So intuition is basically to understand something instinctively without the need for conscious reasoning. So unconsciously, now you might be reasoning, what is sir telling us? What is he teaching us? But subconsciously, there is no need for reasoning. You might just believe whatever I say. Okay, so you might not reason it out. So that is called, that's how the intuition works. Okay, so you may think that whatever sir is saying, yes, it is correct. It is perfectly correct. But you might not reason out whether I'm saying what I'm saying is the right thing or wrong thing, right? So that's called intuition. So our intuition, although seemingly totally random, it's instinctive, is not always so. For one sees a cricket match and sees that Sachin gets out when he smiles. So next time if a person sees Sachin smiling while batting, he'll probably believe that Sachin is going to get out. So this is intuition. This is intuition. So it's totally random. It is based on our past experiences, observation, or simply information given to us by others. So intuition has no moral choice involved. It is merely an expectation of an outcome. Now, conscience is a person's moral sense of right or wrong, viewed as acting as a guide to one's behavior. It flows from a repository of experience and knowledge, often referred to inner voice. This inner voice may or may not involve elaborate reasoning, but it does concern with judging a situation as good or bad. That is a moral choice that we make in which his conscience opposes because there is some higher authority or a threat prohibiting the desired action. So this leads to a crisis of the conscience. Then the third point is culture. How culture determines ethics. So ethical principles of an individual are always influenced by culture. For example, Western culture is more of materialistic or individualistic. Indian culture is more based on the value of universalism and multiplicity. So like now, Japanese culture is more based on duty and discipline. So even literature, scriptures guide a person's conduct. Okay, so that's how culture, what we understand by culture. Then the fourth point is society. Now, how does society determine ethics? So in any society, most people accept standards that are, in fact, ethical. However, one should not equate being ethical to whatever society accepts, as society can sometimes deviate from what is ethical. An entire society has large influences section can become totally corrupt. Example, the Nazi Germany or Stalinist Russia imposed on the citizen particular standards of living and tried to indoctrinate them. Okay, so caste system in India has also continued through millennia, and there is no social consensus about this. So thus ethics cannot be equated with whatever society agrees to. So not necessarily whatever society is saying is right or wrong. Then the next point is family, teachers, they are determinants of ethics. So parents, family, and teachers shape the value system of a child. Their behavior, their conduct, their teachings influence the direction in which the child steers. So affiliation to the same religion, customs, traditions are seen in the same family. However, some also break free from the beliefs, notions, and beliefs and ideas they are given by their parents and choose their own set of principles according to their own free will. For example, a boy may consider a girl child same as that of a male child, even if he has or his sister was treated unequally by their parents. Okay. Then the next factor which determines ethics is law. 6th point is law. So law often incorporates ethical standards most citizens subscribe. However, one should not equate being ethical to following the law. Laws at times can deviate from what is ethical. Example, slavery laws. Okay. Then leadership. Then we have leadership. The next point is leadership. Sixth point is leadership. Seventh point is philosophies. Eighth point is constitutions. Now, coming to leadership. So leadership of a society or an organization helps to determine the conduct of their followers or admirers as ethical. Indian democratic, liberal, secular, tolerance tradition has given the gift of our forefathers and the makers of modern India. So it also prone to ethical. So depends on the leadership also, the country or the people can be prone to ethical or unethical practices. Like example, we can see in North Korea. Okay. So being ethical cannot always be equated to following the leader. Philosophies. Now there are various philosophers and philosophies which are there, which subscribe or which mold our ethical values. Then the constitution also establishes the moral disposition of the society. Whether how is the constitution, okay, a law abiding constitution, or what are the things that are there. So all these things are called as determinants of ethics. Did you all follow?
Sir, second one, please repeat.
What did I say? The second one, Amrita?
Human convenience and
Human convenience.
sorry, I didn't get it.
Conscience, conscience.
Yes, sir. Human conscience.
Repeat once again, sir.
Did you understand, Roshan?
No, sir.
Conscience basically is your reasoned capacity to reason. Now you're consciously listening to me. Our mind is divided into conscious mind, subconscious mind, unconscious mind. How many of you, all of you know it? Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So when you're listening to me now, you're conscious. But now there may be some experience of yours in the past. You may have listened to some lecture and it may be embedded in your subconscious mind. So if you will try to compare, that is called intuition. And conscious now where you're consciously deciding, yes. So our conscience guides us. So what is good because it is good. That is what is called, that is due to intuition. Okay. But conscience is not like that. Conscience will reason what sir is saying, whether it is right or wrong. Your intuition will say, no, whatever I'm saying is right. That is the difference between conscience and intuition. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any other doubts? Now all of you will write an answer. Explain the determinants of ethics. 2 questions I'm going to give you all. Examine the essence of ethics. Examine the essence of ethics and explain the determinants of ethics. Did you all get it? Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So please start writing and I'll ask you all. I'm giving you, try all of you to attempt the answer.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, examine. Can you repeat that?
Examine the essence of ethics and describe the determinants of ethics.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Sanji. Sanjana. Aniket. Anuja. Dr. Varsha.
Sir, essence of ethics is the reflective understanding of good or bad in that part of the human conduct for which it had some personal responsibility.
Okay. Next. Dr. Vishaka.
So still writing.
Okay. Anybody who's ready? Nahida.
Yes, sir.
Yes, nice.
Yes, sir. Essence of ethics. Essence of ethics means intrinsic nature or quality of ethics. And essence of ethics can be divided into, let's say, normative ethics, meta ethics, applied ethics. Normative ethics involved arriving at a moral standards that regulate right or wrong conducts. Meta ethics is the study of what ethical terms and theories are actually referred to. It means it determines the validity of theories of normative ethics. And applied ethics means consisting of analysis of specific controversial moral issues such as abortion, euthanasia, animal rights. It helps to use knowledge of moral principles to the present dilemmas. And next is determinants of ethics. Determinants of ethics means the factor which decides whether the action is ethical or not. And the points you have summarized, sir. Determinants of ethics include God and religion, human conscience and intuitions, culture, society, family, teacher, laws, leadership, philosophy, constitution, all comprise of determinants of ethics. That's it, sir.
Thank you, Nahida. Very good. Excellent. Namrata. Sanket. Roshan. Prajwal.
Yes, sir.
Roshan, yeah. Okay, Roshan. Tell me.
Sir, essence of the ethics, it is a reflected understandings of good and bad in the part of the humans conduct for which humans has some personal responsibilities. In the other word, ethic is a set of the principle that society places on itself and which help guide behavior, choice and actions. And you said like I like gods, religions, and human conscience, culture, and family, and constitutions like that's it, sir. And ecologicals. That is it.
Very good. Very good, Roshan. Good. Good. Good try. Excellent. Prajwal. Tushar. Tejal.
Sir, I am writing.
Okay. Dr. Vishaka, have you completed?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Please proceed.
Essence of ethics are moral principle that governs a person's behavior or the conducting of the activity. It is further divided in three parts: meta ethics, normative ethics, and applied ethics. Meta ethics are philosophical, normative are with norms, and applied ethics are practical application of moral consideration. Uh, Further, determinants of ethics are divided into factors. One is God and religion, human conscience, and intuition, culture, society, family, teachers, law, leadership, philosophies, and constitution.
Good.
That's it, sir.
Yes, good, Dr. Vishaka. Anybody else who's left? Tejal, have you completed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah.
Basically, ethics is elaborate as a systematic study of human actions from the perspective of their rightfulness or wrongfulness as means for the attainments of the definite happiness. It has the reflective understanding of happiness. It is the reflective understanding of good or bad in that part of human conduct for which humans has some personal responsibility. Answer determinants of ethics. Moral values of society are standard of behavior evolved in society. They lead to common minimum acceptable conduct in society by the people.
Good, Tejal. Jairaj.
Yes, sir. So ethics are more or less, we can call ethics are more or less subjective. They conduct some core beliefs and some disposal beliefs. There are two types: core beliefs and disposal beliefs. But more or less, they are run through the basis of values. And while learning ethics, there are also some few determinants which influence this ethics, such as there is God and religion. So we have basically basic beliefs about God and religion. Then there is human conscience and intuitions. Human conscience and intuitions are some intuitions which we inculcate while doing our other stuffs. There is also point like culture. It also influences us in some or the other aspects. There is also society, and the norms of the society has a great impact on us. We can also gain some other ethics from our family, our teachers, and also the law or leadership from some eminent leaders. Then there are many philosophies from great leaders which we can gain, and at the end there is the Indian Constitution, which itself is a great mirror for our ethical growth. That's all.
Yes. Thank you, Jairaj. So more or less, I think now you all might have understood that what we have basically tried to do in this lecture. What we have basically tried to do in this lecture is this, that we have tried to understand what is ethics first and foremost, what are the different key terms that we associate with ethics, how do we understand the difference between that. Then we have tried to see what are the essence of ethics, what are the determinant factors of ethics, and so on and so forth. So, my dear students, it's very essential now for you all to do a thorough analysis and a study and to understand the various factors of what is applied ethics. So now when you come, before you come for the next lecture, I would like you all to prepare yourself, because I think there are a handful of you only who are answering me, and that is definitely not the way of preparation for the civil service, whether irrespective of whether it be online or offline. So the things are very important that you all need to. So hardly I feel Jairaj, then Dr. Vishaka, Dr. Varsha, Tejal has given answer now, Prajwal, Roshan. So the rest of you are just not answering at all. So that is something which is not really a good sign. So my request to all of you is to, prepare yourself in the next lecture. Now you know that we have begun on the topic of ethics, and now what all we are going to be doing in ethics. So in next lecture, we are going to be talking about applied ethics, and we'll be moving on to the consequences of ethics. That's what we are going to be doing in the next lecture. So you prepare for applied ethics and the ethical conflicts. Okay. And what is the ethics in private and public relationships? How the ethics are there in public relationships, how ethics are present in private relationships. Okay. Then relation between public and the private ethics, and also resolving conflicts. How do we resolve ethical conflicts? What is the way out? Then we'll talk about human values. So all this we will be doing in the next lecture. So I hope all of you this thing try to get the with regard to all these points. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And I want the other students to actively participate, because many of you are just I don't know what is happening. There is no answer and no response from the other of you. So with the exceptions of certain of you who are answering and participating, so I would request all of you other students also to answer. Right now, is there any query that you all have, any doubt that you have, that you want to ask me?
Sir, I want to ask one thing.
Yes, Jairaj.
That,
Please go ahead.
do we have some basic theory part for ethics while we prepare for ethics?
Yes, Jairaj. This is what I was saying about, that these are the theory. Now, what I am teaching you, conceptual part, this is the theory. Like now, then I'll be teaching you about philosophy. So there are certain philosophers, like now we call Jeremy Bentham. Any of you who are political science student here? Anybody?
So 3 are from medical science, but I didn't saw any political science student.
Okay. So now, since all of you are mostly from who are not political science student, so but if you are a political science or a philosophy student, so I'll be talking about what is called as utilitarianism. Now, what does this utilitarianism basically mean? That means greatest happiness of the greatest number. It is called GHGN, the principle of GHGN. That means when we are resolving any ethical conflict, I'm going to try to see how it is going to affect the greatest happiness of the greatest number. So based on this ethical value or this moral philosophy, I'm going to incorporate the value, right? Then we are going to talk about Aristotle's golden mean. All of you might have heard the name of Aristotle. I don't think anybody is there who has not heard the name of Aristotle. All of you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yes,
Aristotle talks about golden mean. Now, what do you mean by golden mean? So golden mean means following the middle path. Basically, neither towards the right, neither towards the left. So as civil servants, also, your approach should not be affiliated to any political. That means you are unbiased. Okay. You are unbiased. So that is what you have to understand. So you have to be neutral. Civil servants are called to be neutral. That means they should not have political affiliation. I think you understand what I mean by political affiliation. Neither moving to the right, neither moving to the left, neither having conservative ideas, neither having liberal over liberal ideas, or neither having, or any sort of other which is connected to political, but rather we are based on constitutional values. Our guideline, or for a civil servant, the what you can call is the guidebook is the constitution and the law. Okay, the law of the land. So I hope I have answered your question, Jairaj.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yes, Roshan.
Which book prefers?
Yeah, you all can either refer to any of the book on ethics. That means now there is a book by Chronicle. Chronicle has a book called that the key concepts in ethics. Okay. Then even one of the publication like Arihant and all, they come out with a this thing, my sorry, what is the name of that? In the next lecture, I'll give you the publication name. Okay, I can't recollect the publication name. Okay, yeah. So, but any major publication house, you can take any book, any standard book on the 4th paper, that is GS paper 4. You refer to that and you can follow that. Is there any other doubt?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, well, yeah, lexicon. Yeah, Nahida, you are right. That is what I was talking about. Chronicles lexicon. So Roshan, your answer is Chronicles lexicon. She has put it up in the message chat section. So lexicon. Lexicon means basically like this thing. Okay. Yes, you can refer lexicon, Nahida.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any other queries? Okay. So what is the feedback? We begin with Jairaj.
So feedback as in about
Of
the lecture.
Of the lecture, Jairaj.
Sir, it was really nice. It was very enlightening because it was just the beginning of the lecture. It was the introductory part, and we have. I hope we all of us have actually understood each and every part. Mainly the beginning of the ethics, the basis of ethics.
Yes.
So for me, it was a good lecture.
Thank you, Jairaj. Roshan. Your voice is cracking, Roshan. It's breaking. Hello. No, it is cracking. It's still cracking.
Right now.
Okay, yeah. Speak, Roshan.
Sir, it was a good lecture, but I would like suggest you. Sir, it was you very fast, very fast. Sir.
Okay. I'll try to slow down. Yes.
Yes, sir.
I have taken into consideration. Yes, Roshan, surely.
Okay, sir. This is good, sir.
Yes.
Other things.
Okay. Thank you, Roshan.
Thank you.
Prajwal. Namrata.
Yes, sir. Very good lecture. I understood each and everything.
Yeah. Nahida.
Yes, sir. Sir, your teaching method is very nice. Basically, that interactive part with the student is very nice. It helps in building communication skills, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Dr. Varsha?
Sir, actually, I joined some late, but once I joined, I understood the things, and definitely it is very good lecture. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Dr. Varsha. Dr. Vishakha?
So I understood everything, whatever you talk. I don't have any doubt yet now.
Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to ask any query or any question?
Sir,
Yes, Namrata.
how can we answer current affairs? I mean, how can we include current affairs in this?
Yeah. So now, Namrata, for that thing, every day, like whatever cases are taking place, like we see certain death cases or we see certain judgments given by the Supreme Court and certain happenings. So those become the case studies, what we call case studies for the ethical decision. So as you're reading, you can incorporate that mentioning a particular person, so and so. So that is how you're going to do. So slowly, as you understand the conceptual clarity, it will become very easy for you to understand how to incorporate current affairs, right?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Like now, example, I'll give you social media, the Twitter. So all these Twitter things, so then that can cause this thing about social, in the UN cry about social media. So what should we do? Should we ban? Should we allow? How much control should be there on social media? So this is how you are going to give the answer, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else anybody else wants to ask before I call it close to the lecture? So any which ways, thank you all for joining in and hope to see you soon. So please do the work that I have told you. It would be much more interactive and much more better if the other students also interact and tell me. Then only I will be able to understand and to get. And thank you all for your feedback and God bless all of you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.